be 9 in the middle.
More? Yes,
Please.
more
Thank you.
to the left.
Can we do picture taking? You're
right.
Yes, everything is on the.
Yes, what is that? Este patriarchis.
That's what I thought. We can move. He's the sign that we are ready to proceed.
Where do we stop?
Here.
Here? Yeah. Okay. All right. Start you. Okay. Good morning. It's a great pleasure for me and my good friend Ulf Kristersson to be here in Riga today. It's a privilege to have been invited to the B9 meeting. We have a lot of things to talk about before the Washington summit. Finland and Sweden are both new members of the alliance. We work very closely with all B9 countries to make sure that the alliance stays safe and secure. Finland is very much a security provider rather than a security consumer. So we look forward to a day full of interesting conversations before the Washington summit.
Are we potentially looking at B11 soon?
We are guests here today. No, we appreciate being guests here. Yeah.
But I mean, we have Hungary's absence, so that's very conspicuous.
So then it makes it into a B9 quite nicely. I think Hungary and Slovakia are not here.
Nevertheless, they're not here. How does that impact this meeting here? Does that endanger the alliance?
Well, I don't think so. This is preparation for the NATO summit, obviously. I think those of us being here are extremely aligned and extremely committed to all the tasks we have ahead of us, so I don't think so.
In any case, I mean, if you look at Washington, we're preparing defense, deterrence and support to Ukraine. Both of us had the chance to meet Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg last week. We had good conversations of how we're taking things forward towards the summit. I think obviously there's still a few weeks to go, but feel quite confident that the package that we will build around Ukraine, the pathway towards Ukraine NATO membership is all going on track.
But is it easy to work with such countries who are more Russia-friendly, such as Slovakia, Hungary, and Bulgaria?
I think, you know, if there's one thing we're all united about right now, is to make sure that Ukraine wins this war. Russia is an aggressive, imperialist country. Finland and Sweden joined NATO because of Russia's attack on Ukraine. We should not underestimate the unity and the determination we have to support Ukraine.
I'm quite sure that what we will see in DC in a few weeks' time is a very solid support for Ukraine. Okay, good, great.
All right, thanks.
I used to cover IT for a while. Well, it's a little late. Leah's changed this way. Everybody says ciao. What platform?
Iga, on pierdolc. Kajeno?
Kars.
Kars. Ei se voit kajat sulta istumaan.
He was a Balkan gentleman. Those guys were fairly hardcore.
Morning.
How are you feeling about the absence of Hungary and Slovakia?
Well, we'll survive, I hope, because I'm ambassador as a president. So as I approach a NATO summit in Washington, there are basically two key issues to address here in Riga. This is ensuring strong support for Ukraine and countering Russian threat, military threat to NATO. Because Russia's threat remains biggest. We all know that there are growing military presence near our borders, hybrid and different attacks across Europe. So what we need to do to make sure that we grow also our defense resources, and that we make sure that all these plans we have are going to implement it as well as far as NATO is concerned. Thank you.
Letonia has done so much for Ukraine and the alliance. Are we talking about potentially now finally an invitation for Ukraine at Washington Summit?
Well, of course, we need a path to NATO, because to Ukraine to NATO, because Ukraine belongs to NATO, and we also have to do to grow all the military, as I said, military budget, and as I guess 2% is not enough, so we need more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone knows. I guess some.
I get paid by commission, so for every word, I get paid for word.
So you do voiceovers and stand-ups?
Yeah, I mean, usually in the studio.
Paul?
Do you speak that?
Just interesting.
Who's it done? What he's saying is a Wall Street Journal down there. You know, I'm sort of a little bit. I used to think that the journal from here until I sort of closed it.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here to visit old and beautiful capital of Latvia, Riga. But this time I think it will be very important coordination summit ahead of Washington NATO summit. And I think there are three pillars we should discuss. First of all, preparation for Washington summit, of course. The second is support to Ukraine. And the third is strengthening of eastern flank. I think we are like-minded countries. We will find the necessary solutions. We will calibrate our approaches towards Russia, towards support of Ukraine. What seems to be important for me as a president of Lithuania, we have to be decisive in supporting Ukraine. Because I see that sometimes we celebrate the decision-making and we are not celebrating the delivery. So first of all, we have to celebrate if our military equipment, of our ammunition passes the border of Ukraine. Sometimes the gap between those two moments is just unacceptably too broad. The second issue is, of course, defense pledge or defense spending pledge. We took the decision to have 2% of GDP level as a floor of defense spending. I think it's not sufficient enough. Having in mind the geopolitical situation, we have to increase our spending. And my country is doing that other countries of Eastern flank are doing that. I think the big fishes, big partners and allies of NATO should take more responsibilities, because this is not only necessary for strengthening of our support to Ukraine. This is necessary for modernizing our military forces. And I think Europe have to take more responsibilities in developing military capabilities here on the ground. And I think we are on good track. My country has a lot of plans, ambitious plans to strengthen our defense industry, and we will be able to do that, I think.
Mr. President, you said being decisive. How can you be decisive and unify with Hungary not being here?
I think this is important just not only to take the decisions, but first of all to cross the red lines. We have too many red lines on our path, and we have to abolish them. I am talking about the using of military capabilities on the territory of Russian Federation, long-range missiles, the elements of air defense systems. Those are critically important for Ukraine right now. And I think sometimes we delay the process, we delay the decision making, and it costs human lives, first of all, in Ukraine, because every day Ukraine loses human beings and, of course, destroyed infrastructure, not talking about military forces and the losses on the front line. So in order to be successful, in order to go smoothly to the our ultimate goal, the victory of Ukraine, we have to do more. But first of all, we have to take the speedy decisions.
Mr. President, are you talking also about situation with Belarusian border?
We should be honest, and we shouldn't lie to ourselves. Belarus is integral part of Russian Federation. This is not only proxy, this is just the country which lost the independence entirely in last 3-4 years. And Belarus is fully available for Russian Federation to deploy, to establish the plans, to implement those plans, and Belarus is, of course, additional source of instability, not only looking at Ukraine, but also looking at the western border, the border with European Union countries. Right now, we do not see any big threats in terms of illegal migration. At least my country does not suffer this destabilization in migration meaning. But Poland still has a lot of threats in that regard, and I think we should not be sure that Belarus will stop this kind of hybrid or other kind of efforts to destabilize the situation. This is only a matter of time. So if we have this in mind, we have to prepare our actions, what we do, what we will do in the future, and what are our long-term goals.
The red line you mentioned, that NATO weapons on the Russian soil, has already been crossed. How do you expect it will help Ukraine?
I think, first of all, it would lead Russian population to understanding that the war is here. The war is not there somewhere in the big distance. The war is here, and they should understand that is just the consequences of the war. They should be felt by Russian population too, not only in terms of sanctions we imposed in the past. Unfortunately, our sanctions are not effective enough to make Russian population to understand that it's costly for them to continue this war. Sanctions are not effective enough, but military actions, if they take place near to the territory of Ukraine, of course, would mean that the war is here and the consequences of the war are felt by Russian population. This is very important. Thank you.
To ensure that we are able to agree, as we have done at every NATO summit over the last years, and we will continue to do.
So I look forward to going to Budapest to sit down and discuss the agenda for the NATO summit. That includes support for Ukraine and also how to further strengthen our deterrence and defense. And I will then meet the press tomorrow, and I can tell you more about the meeting after I met Viktor.
It's very conspicuous that Mr. Orban is not here. The first time there won't be a joint statement on this level. How in danger is the alliance because of that?
Well, I'm confident that NATO allies will agree at the NATO summit. We have a defense ministerial meeting this week. I expect NATO allies will agree there too on the way forward on important decisions, both on deterrence and defense and Ukraine, and I also expect that when we meet in Washington we will agree on the way forward. So it's not for me to comment on the B9 because I'm a guest here, but I will be able to tell you exactly what we agree as NATO allies.
Do you fear Russia backlash after NATO weapons on Russian soil, the green light that was given there?
NATO allies are providing support to Ukraine in different ways, and again we need to understand what this is. Russia has attacked Ukraine. Ukraine has the right to self-defense, and the right to self-defense includes the right to attack legitimate military targets on the territory of the aggressor. Russia is the aggressor. They have attacked, and especially now when Russia has opened a new front in the north, in the Kharkiv region, they are launching attacks directly from Russian territory into Ukraine with missiles, with artillery, with airstrikes. And of course, if Ukraine was not allowed to repel those attacks by firing back on the batteries that are attacking Ukraine directly from Russian territory, then it would be the same as to ask Ukraine to defend themselves with one hand tied on their back. So this is about self-defense. It's about protecting against Russian attacks, and Ukraine has the right to do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was like it was here and it was there. Yeah, I think.
To the family photo, please. Tu negribi iet ne augšā uz family photo, ne uz opening session?
Nē, galvenais, ka sarakstīšu to ziņu, doties...
Labi, uzgaidi šeit, aizvedīšu.
Good morning. Haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you. Morning. Good to see you. Very good to see you. Thank you, sir. Please.
Okay.
the most serious part of it. Shall I move?